European Union is planning to increase its semiconductor manufacturing capability. So far, it only accounts for 10% of global semiconductor manufacturing, and it wants to increase it to 20%, at least 20% by 2030, which is 10 years later. I would say it's really ambitious goal because it wants to double down its production in just 10 years. And now, in fact, many countries want to reclaim their semiconductor capability because they realize this is actually very important manufacturing they have to control because maybe it's because of this global shortage may then realize this, and also you can see that the supply chain of the mask or some like medical essential items, that's also very important. They realize if they don't manufacture, they think eventually if that's really in demand, they couldn't really have it, right? So that's also same principle applies to the semiconductor thing. And also, if you look in the past, in the 90s, the EU actually accounted for 44% of the global manufacturing of semiconductor. So that's a lot. And it's just like the US. US used to have a lot of chip makers, but now they mostly outsource to Asia, more specifically TSMC and Samsung. TSMC and Samsung now accounted for almost like 60% of the global semiconductor manufacturing. So that's a lot, and they just make the EU and the US realize they have to have their own one. They couldn't just always outsource these things and even outsource more. The US already realized this, so they already talked to TSMC, and TSMC already promised to set up the Arizona foundry in the US, which will be over 10 billion investment. It's actually a very not a very big number because the semiconductor manufacturing industry is very capital intense. But at least it's a very good starting point, and the EU also wants to do that. The EU doesn't necessarily want to build their own semiconductor manufacturing companies, but they want to talk to TSMC to see if they can build out some foundries in the EU, and they may help because once you don't own a company but you only foundries in your territories, if there's really something in shortage, you can ban the export, just like a lot of what you see for vaccines. There's also can be regulated to ban the country or the regions exporting those things to the other countries. And I believe once there's some emergencies, the EU, they can also do that to ban the export of semiconductors. All right, so that's the thing. So now it doesn't matter if you own a company. The only thing matters is if the production happen in your territory. And they're aiming for advanced chip manufacturing. So there's actually advanced one and the less advanced one. Advanced is usually the chips for CPU, GPUs, or your phone CPUs. And less advanced is usually those for the home app, like speakers, monitors, or car, or other home items. And they kind of aiming the advanced one. All right, so they're going to talk to TSMC to see. We don't know what they're going to talk about, but very likely they want to persuade TSMC to set up some foundries there. Actually, that's not impossible as long as you can provide some tax reduction or some subsidize, and to make the cost of setting up the foundry cheaper in the EU, then the other places, then maybe TSMC will go. So the thing is, yeah, this is really happening, and it's not easy actually, because for TSMC, if they want, the reason they want to set up the foundries in the US is because they have also a lot of customers in the US, Apple's, Qualcomm, and Intel. They have a lot of different customers, right? But in EU, they don't have really that many customers in EU. EU have a lot of car makers, but those car makers only consume the lower end of semiconductors. It's not what TSMC is actually making primarily. All right, so that's the EU situation and the semiconductor and the global semiconductor shortage. Very interesting situation in every countries, every like unions, every around the world is moving. It's like re-strategize their semiconductor manufacturing. All right, so that's all for today. If you would like to receive more semiconductor manufacturing analysis or some other technology analysis like these, don't forget to subscribe. Your subscription is really my best encouragement to make more videos like this. Other than that, take care. I will see you next time.